Put down your baby and pick up a cup of coffee? Brandon, normally here on Dad Jokes, we record in the afternoon or at night, and we talk about picking up a beer, but it's the morning, and I think it might be a little too early for a beverage.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Jerry.
That's true. It is true. Well, I'll tell you this, though. There are very few things in life that are better than a Sunday morning cup of coffee, in my opinion. I love Sunday morning coffee, so I already had some.
Well, you know how I feel about coffee, so we are diametrically opposed
Yes.
in that regard. I don't really drink coffee.
Yes, you don't, and when you do, you drink basic white girl coffee from Starbucks. That's what you drink.
Give me a caramel frap at any
Exactly.
point, and I'm good.
That is true. But yeah, it's morning time here, Brandon, and I got to tell you, the one thing that I'm noticing about Peyton is that she takes after her dad when it comes to morning. She's a morning person. She's all smiles and happy in the morning, but at night, it's a different story. It's like Gremlins or something, if you've ever seen that movie.
I'm not sure if I have seen it. I'm not sure if that might be a baby thing in general, because that's the one thing Kelsey and I are annoyed with. We feel like every morning Bryce is just like ready to go at his happiest, and then we turn around and take him right to my parents' house.
Exactly.
So it's the weekends when I have a Saturday off is fun.
No, for sure. It's funny because, I was just saying that I don't get home from work till late often, and that's kind of Peyton's witching hour, and she's cranky all the time. So on weekends, it's kind of nice. It's like, oh, you can be happy and lovable. So she was just being that way before I came down here to record. So, but Brandon, let's start with a dad joke today. I got one for you if you're ready.
You got one or two? Because last week you tried 2 out and still lost. So I'm wondering if you want to. Are you going to try that again?
Oh, I don't know. I think I could come up with 2 if I wanted to, but I think I just got. Let's see where we go.
I could do the one you text me. I texted you earlier too.
That is true. That'd be hard though without a visual. So,
Okay.
So Brandon, of the last 100 years, what invention has been the most remarkable?
Wow. Last 100 years, what invention has been the most remarkable? The assembly line.
Dry erase board. Get it? Remarkable.
Oh my God.
It took you a second. I got one more for you, though. I got one more for you.
All right, go ahead, Dad Jokes book guy.
No, this is not from the book. Neither
Okay.
one of these is from a book.
Let's go.
These actually both were from one of your favorite places to go for information. These
Oh,
are both
YouTube.
Nope, Reddit.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yep. And this one, I like this one. This is actually the one I was going to go with, but I saw the other one and thought it was funny too. Where do you take someone who's been injured in a peekaboo accident?
A peekaboo accident. I don't know.
I see you.
The first one was better.
All right. Well, it's funny because I actually would have gone with the second one. So those are my 2 dad jokes. I'll let you say 2 later if you want, or you can just go with the one.
I got one solid one, so we should be all right. Because you start giving me that much leeway, and I might start getting a little bit PG-13 R-rated.
I like it. So, Brandon, this week what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some of the things that we're going to need to buy in the near future as our children get a little bit older. So we're going to kind of talk about some things that we've been researching and what we might think we might need that might help you guys at home if you're kind of in the same stage. And then before we do that, though, I think let's hear what's going on in the Banks household.
So it's been a pretty uneventful but really solid week. Bryce has started sitting up with assistants where you can see where he's holding himself up for like long periods of time. He's probably a week or 2 away from just like fully sitting up on his own, but you can see the progress. He's a lot more like reachy, grabby. I was messing around with him yesterday, and basically in order for him, this probably don't sound mean, but last night in order for him to like start eating, I made him grab his bottle. He was getting like a little frustrated, but like he's been capable of holding it for a little while. I will sometimes place his hands in the spot where it's easier, but yesterday he reacts when he sees the bottle, so I basically held it in front of his face, and he was working his way around it, and he grabbed it around like the neck and then lifted it up, and he figured it out, and he got it to a point where he was feeding himself basically. There needed to be some intervention from dad once it started like it was moving away from his mouth, things like that occasionally, but it's progress. And that's also something I tell my wife this all the time. Sometimes you gotta let them like get a little frustrated, fail, and figure the stuff out on their own. Sometimes you want to jump in and help, but it's only going to benefit them, and it's fun to watch them progress. Sometimes I might be a little mean, I guess, but in addition to that, he's sleeping. It's knock on wood. It seems like we turned a corner. According to our app, he was coming out of a leap when he started doing a little bit better, and he has like 2 days until another one right now. So hopefully it's not short-lived, but he's been sleeping pretty consistently from like 7:30 to 2 to 3, and waking up, feeding. He's a little bit more fussy when he goes back down because he's supposed to go back down for a couple hours after that, but we're working through that. And then lastly, he's out of his 3 to 6 month clothing. He's 5 months old. He's in 6 to 9 month, and he's filling it out pretty well. So
we don't know what that's like over here.
He's a little thick boy with 2 C's.
Yeah, we're the opposite over here. We still got some newborn stuff we're wearing, and then some 0 to 3s for sure. But that's basically what we're doing over here. We're just trying to get her some weight on her. So we've been feeding her more bottles. She's been taking them, and she's still always hungry. That's never been the issue. So she's definitely we're trying to put weight on her. And it's funny you mentioned the thing about the bottle because she's just at the stage now where she figured out kind of to grab the pacifier. And then sometimes she does it great. She grabs it, pulls it out, puts it back in. But other times, it's like you said, it's like, no. And you're like trying to get her to figure it out.
Put the back into the
correct,
in
yeah.
her mouth.
And she's just swinging it around or something. So I understand what you're saying there because we're trying to, or at least I am trying to get her to actually go through that process of holding it and putting it back in. And anyone who has a baby understands the frustrations of the pacifier because babies, although they love them, refuse to let them stay in their mouths for more than 0.1 seconds unless you're helping them.
Oh my God.
You ever want to see frustration?
Me
yeah, if you ever want frustration, just spend about 10 minutes with the baby in a pacifier. It is crazy. So then you start having these crazy positions where you like hold them. So like it like cradles the pacifier into their mouth and then they wiggle their head like crazy back and forth because it's just insane.
I have pacifier anxiety. Like we get on the, we'll put them down and we're looking at the baby monitor and you can just see where it's starting to come out and I'm like, oh no, if this comes out, what's going to happen? And then sometimes you hit the lottery and like it falls out, but he's already knocked out, so it doesn't matter. And he's starting to do this thing where he will like put his lips together and like kind of make the sound, which is counterintuitive to having a pacifier in his mouth as well. So.
Exactly. Yeah, so we're fighting that, but Peyton's kind of been the same. Like I said, she's definitely still pretty cranky during the day. She definitely has happy moments and fun moments, but it's a fight for us, especially between that 8 p.m. to midnight. She sleeps, knock on wood, pretty dang good between midnight and the morning.
Hey, that's progress.
Yeah, she like last night she fed around midnight, and then this morning she got up at 6 o'clock, so 6 hours. She does good at night. It's just to the night and during the day that we have some rough patches. And like I said, we're trying to get weight on her, and just keep her happy and do whatever we can there. One thing that we did that would try to make her a little bit happier is kind of something you mentioned recently, Brandon, and that's we got one of those piano little lay down centers, if you will, that keep them entertained. So we put that together and she was having some fun with that. It actually went over better than I thought. At first, she was kind of like, this ain't for me. I'm going to cry. And then it was like about 2 songs in, which, by the way, they're all stuck in my head. So thank you for that, Brandon. And so
we might have to come out with the dad jokes little soundtrack.
Oh, my gosh.
I got all those songs stuck in my head.
I was showering this morning singing the one. So that's what I got
Which
going
one?
for me.
You remember?
It's like, you could be... of something about a purple monkey and bubble gum tree.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that song.
Yep, that one.
This is like the cute little woman's voice.
Yeah, so I got that in my head, but she actually kind of liked it.
In my head permanently.
Exactly. No, but she kind of liked it after she stood for about 15, 20 minutes, which is in dad world amazing. So that did well. Yesterday, not quite as well when we tried it, but it still kind of worked. So we're going to try some more today. So that's fun. She's doing really good with her head lately. She's doing pretty good at she can stand like crazy. Like she'll stand for 4 or 5 seconds. She's done that forever. It's weird. She's got super strong legs, even though they're small. But like I said, we're just trying to get the weight on her and not to be too anxious about it because, we don't have a scale at home. It's something I actually thought about buying, but my wife, probably for the better, told me not to. So, every day I'm like holding her like, is she heavier? Is she the same? I'm not really sure. So
I mean, I don't know if Macy's going to want me saying this, but the workaround there is just you hop on the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're unofficially, we were pretty accurate with what Bryce's weight.
I might do that and just not tell her.
Sorry, Macy.
No, but it's the one good thing that's come out of this too is as she's taken more bottles is actually Macy's had some better success with pumping too. She's produced more, which is going to be very important as she goes back to work because this next week is her last week home. And then Brandon, I won't lie to you. I know we've talked about this a couple times, but that first week back, she works nights. She's actually switching to days, but that first week is a night shift, so she's going to be gone 4 of the nights during that week, the entire night. So it's going to be just me and Peyton, and we'll see how that goes. But knowing how her temperament is, it might be kind of interesting. And to make matters worse, Brandon, this last week, one of the most frustrating things for me is it seems that lately Macy's been able to calm her down a little bit better than I have, which wasn't always the case. So that's a little frustrating.
Oh, you told me this a couple of days ago, and then last night Bryce was in like the most amazing mood. He was laying on his back. We were playing around. Kelsey and I each were like kind of in his face playing. He was in a good mood for like 4 hours. But it was getting very, very close to bedtime. We probably were pushing it a little bit. It wasn't quite there, but we should have been wrapping it up. And I'm holding him, and then all of a sudden, I take him from his back. I'm getting him ready, just changed his diaper. We're getting ready to put him to bed, and he just starts going crazy. And it's out of the blue. Like, he's been in a great mood.
Right.
And like, cannot calm him down at all. Kelsey's in the kitchen, like, washing bottles, and I'm kind of getting a little dad and Bryce time. And she pops her head in. She's like, you want me to grab him? And, like, part of me was like, no, because I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming.
Yep,
it's like she walks around the couch. He literally, when I'm talking blood curdling screams. Like, you would think I was in here punching this kid in his face. And he just like happens to, I don't know if he heard her or if he like sensed that she was there. He like looked over, looked at her, smiled, and stopped crying immediately. Like, she didn't have to pick him up. She just had to walk in the same room. And she picked him up, rocking him, and everything's all good. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But it is what it is. I'll win. When he's 2, 3, 4, 5, guess what? I'm winning. I'm winning that battle.
The best part about that, Brandon, is it's a lose-lose as a dad because then they calm him down and you're upset because they were able to calm him down. They don't calm him down, and then you got to listen to the screaming for longer. So there's no winning in it. I feel your pain there. I've definitely been through that. But you mentioned she was in the kitchen washing bottles, and actually that's something I wanted to talk about today briefly. A piece of baby gear that actually Macy told me I had to mention on the show because we haven't yet, and it's been amazing for us, is our good friend, the Dykmans, Alicia and Nick. Nick was actually on the show recently. They gave us, when Peyton was born, actually a little before she was born, a baby Brezza bottle sterilizer because they didn't use it because they strictly nursed. And, we started using it more because we're using normal bottles lately. The Dr. Browns, yes, don't get me started on those.
I didn't say anything.
But we started using it more, and we probably run it 3-4 times a day, and it's great. It works wonderful. It's super easy, and it was also great because it was free for us. But that is a product that I would definitely recommend. I have no complaints about it. We've never used a different one, so no comparison there. But it's been fantastic. So if you need a bottle sterilizer, look it up. I can't say enough good things about it. And it takes purified water like they do, but it's such a small amount. It's not like you need to buy it every 10 seconds either.
Yeah, in the words of Diana Ross, I second that emotion. We use the exact same one. You throw pacifiers in there too. It works well.
Do you have a piece of baby gear you wanted to go over today, Brandon?
Yes.
Let's hear it.
And this is kind of I'm not going to talk about this in like the prepping for the next steps, but this is something that we did some research on and are purchasing, and it's the EIH baby playpen. It's an extra large playpen for like babies and toddlers.
That's awesome, Brandon, because I was actually going to, today when we're talking about products, that was one of the things I had on the list. So keep going, but that's perfect.
So
great minds.
I'm not going to go too deep into it, but basically it's a large playpen. Bryce, and it comes with like a 50-piece ball set. So as he's able to set up a little bit more, that's something that he can start interacting with. And I can't take the credit for that. Kelsey did the research and say, hey, this is the one we should go with, because we were talking about that previously. So the great minds are you and Kelsey more than you and me today.
Well, honestly, it's something that in preparation for this show that I started looking up. So just recently, and then I was kind of like, yeah, this is something that probably sooner than later we're going to look into. And so that is something I looked up. Another fun fact, or something that I wanted to mention before we get into our topic today, Brandon, a baby fact, and this is something that a lot of people I know talk about, and I feel like sometimes there's misinformation or you hear a lot of different things, but everyone wants to know when they have a newborn because babies cry, right? And sleep is tough. They hear the word or the term self-soothe, and there's a lot of research on there, and there's people that are for and against and say it's real, it's not. But the one thing that in my research I've kind of come across is that when can you expect your baby to start self-soothing? And the most common answer, or the most research-driven answer, seems to be around 6 months. They can start learning habits, 2 to 4 months, but really when they can start applying those is around the 6-month mark. So my point is, when you have a 2-month-old or a 3-month-old and you kind of want them to self-soothe, it just might not be possible, which can be frustrating and tough. But, I know sometimes you'll hear even parents or grandparents and they'll say, oh, leave them there, they need to self-soothe. Well, and I don't necessarily disagree, but at a certain point in time, it might not be doing anything. I don't know if you've read anything on that, Brandon, or have anything to add in the terms of self-soothing.
Yeah, that was actually something I had to. Once again, that was kind of all Kelsey. I had the mentality coming in and having a kid. It's like, hey, I'm not about to be this parent who like freaks out when the kid cries. This is pre having a kid. I'm not gonna be the parent that freaks out when the kid cries. Like, just let them cry. Like, if they'll be fine. Like, that was my naive and ignorant mentality on it. And then even to a degree when Bryce was here, or is since he's been here, like he's a couple months old. He had stages where he was just crying nonstop, and it's like, yo, I put him in the
yeah,
bassinet,
exactly.
Let him cry. And part of that is still relevant.
Very
I don't
true.
Think, yeah, you still have to be able to get things done, and you can't be like trapped by holding.
Just shorter time frames. It might be 15 minutes as opposed to, hey, leave them there for half an hour, an hour.
Exactly. But like before, I had to like tell my dad, I was like, hey, if you, because he had the same mentality I did. It doesn't matter it matters if you just are leaving them there and not like going to console him or pick him up when he cries. It's not learned behavior at this point, which
Correct.
a lot of people think it is. Like, the baby can manipulate you, and you're training them to, every time they cry, you pick them up. They're not at the stage, to your point, where that's registering yet.
Yeah, and like I said, that's from a number of different sources. Almost all of them say right around 6 months is kind of when they can start applying those. And then some people actually don't believe that that's ever really a thing, which, I mean, you can get into that. But something I was looking up the other day because, again, she was crying all the time, and I was just like, I always forget. I'm like, what time is it? What period is it? 6 months. So those at home, 6 months. But let's get into...
Speaking of 6 months, actually, I got one quick thing.
Okay.
We were deciding to wait until 6 months to like start introducing foods to Bryce. Talking to like the pediatrician, he was like, hey, a lot of people do it at 4 months. He's like, you can, it just kind of depends on your kid. But he's like, if you can, wait until like the 6 month time period. Bryce has started to show a ton of interest in like what we're eating, what my parents are eating, things like that. So we're pushing that time frame up just a little bit. He's 5 months and a week old basically at this point. But he's probably, the next time we talk, he probably would have had a puree of some sort.
That's exciting.
We're gonna try it out. Kelsey's doing some homemade baby food, and I'm a little nervous because babies will gag on that. But right now it is less about him actually eating the food, more kind of just experiencing it. So
You might need to be nervous about the diapers is what you might need to be nervous about.
You have a point there.
You'll let me know how that is.
I can deal with the diapers as long as he doesn't choke.
That's true. That is true.
And I've been told there's a difference between choking and gagging. This is what I keep hearing and reading.
Yeah, they even with spit up, they say that too,
Yeah.
So let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, though, Brandon. In today's episode, we're going to talk about some things that we're going to need to buy in the near future. And for most new parents, something that they're going to need to buy early on, I know that we're both going to talk about, is what they call a convertible car seat. Now, a convertible car seat, for those of you that don't know, is a car seat that can both be rear-facing and forward-facing, and basically can convert from the infant stage all the way till a certain point, a couple years down the line. Some people will only buy a convertible car seat. They'll never have an infant car seat because some of them can serve as an infant car seat from even the hospital home. A lot of people, though, will buy infant car seats and a convertible car seat later on. The funny part about it, Brandon, is that a lot of people don't think is you need an infant car seat sometimes, a convertible car seat, and then later on you need a booster seat. So you actually, a lot of people, or I would say the majority of people, buy 3 different car seats. And as you know, Brandon, we are a Nuna family. That's the stroller we have. And we have the Nuna Pippa as far our infant car seat. And Nuna makes 2, actually 3 technically, different convertible car seats right now, all of which are very highly rated. Those are the Rava, the Rev, and the Exec. So those are some that I'm going to kind of go over. I don't know. Have you done any research on those, Brandon?
Yes, we have we're pretty sure on which one we are purchasing. And some would call it Rava, some would call it Rava, but I'm gonna let you keep going.
So that is the one that was kind of their original one. It's the one that's very high rated. Not that they all aren't, but I mean it's been around for a while, and it's a very, very good car seat. The difference between that and the Rev mostly is that the Rev is a 360. It can spin. You don't have to turn it around. It basically is 360. Now, the Rev actually holds the baby for a smaller amount of time, meaning that in the Rev, they can only be 40 pounds max, whereas in the Rava, you can be all the way up to 65 pounds or 49
inches. It's definitely
inches.
Rava, for the record.
The Rava. Okay, so the Rava, you can be 25 to 65 pounds, 49 inches. And the Rava, like you said, Brandon, was the one that I kind of always thought we would buy. We actually had it on our registry. But the more research I've done, the Exec has caught my eye. Basically, the difference between the Exec and the other two is that it not only is a rear-facing car seat, a front-facing car seat, it is also converts into a booster seat. So in theory, you don't have to buy any more car seats for the length of the child's life. That is good rear-facing 5 to 50 pounds, forward-facing 25 to 65 pounds, and booster seat 40 to 120 pounds. The one negative that I've read some reviews on with the Exec is that sometimes the kid can be too tall, and it doesn't matter what their weight is, and you might still need to buy another booster seat. So have you done any research on the Exec, Brandon?
Yes, actually, the big thing I saw when I was looking at the Exec, and part of the reason that I am leaning away from it, to tell you the truth, is the cost of booster seats in general. So right now, we're making this decision in real time because the Rava is probably going to be purchased in the next couple of days. And the Rava's on sale right now, $100 off the normal price. So, if I'm looking at the cost difference between the Exec and the Rava, right now I'm looking at about a $300 difference. At that point, I could just go ahead and purchase whatever booster seat of choice that I.
Yeah, you can get a really good booster seat for around $100. It's a very valid point. And I think actually Nuna makes just a booster seat too.
Yeah, it's the Ace. It's $250.
Yep. Okay. So now that's a great point. The one other thing the Rava doesn't have that the Exec and the Rev have, Brandon, that I know my Pippa has, is the magnetic clips that you can hold. The Rava does not have that. So
I do like that about.
That's a good feature. I know it sounds silly, but that actually is something I learned today in preparation for the show. It does not have that. Another thing the Rava doesn't have, and this is where I kind of go back and forth between the Exec and the Rava, is it doesn't have the anti-rebound bar, which is something that some people think is good for safety and just an added feature. But again, I understand your point, and actually, I typically tend to agree with you. You can go Rava, and then you can get another booster seat later on. Because there's tons of good booster seats out there, and like I said, a lot of them are $120, and they're super high rated. But what other car seats came up in your research, Brandon, especially as you kind of lean towards Rava?
Yeah, so we're definitely leaning towards the Rava. Part of the reason, what was important to me was probably number one, extended rear facing weight limit. And the Rava, you can have the extended rear face for up to 50 pounds. So you can as well with the Britax Advocate, which was another one. And I started because I'm at the point where when we first had the kid, I was like, whatever, we spare no expense. Let's get the best of everything. You still kind of want that, but I'm also starting to look at how much I'm a little bit annoyed with myself on the car seat and stroller combo, to tell you the truth. Just a transparent moment. We've used the stroller, and I'll probably feel different about it in a year. But I made my decision on the stroller primarily based on the ability to take our car seat and put it directly in the stroller. And has that been very convenient at times? Yes. The problem is when we've really needed it is we probably use it like 3 or 4 times. We've almost found reasons to use it. And the stroller is amazing, and I still like that stroller a ton. But I think part of the reason we went with that particular one was because of the use between the car seat and the stroller. And truthfully, based on when we had Bryce,
the winter didn't help you there because
we got like 2 months of fall. We used it at the apple orchard one time, but that hasn't been. So I'm being a little bit more judicious in kind of how we look over things. The Britax compares favorably from a crash test perspective, and what I like most about both of them is that they have a function where the bottom of the seat lifts up and you can kind of fit a seatbelt through. So you have the ability to use a latch system, but for example, I drive a truck, and if I'm putting my child, it's almost more important for me to put my child in the middle seat. If you have that option, that's typically considered the safest seat for a child seat. The middle seat in my Silverado does not have the latch system, so you have to use the seatbelt. If I were to use either side, then I can definitely use a latch, but that's also something that is important. So the Britax would be my budget choice. Naturally, it's $150 less than the Rava. It happens to only be $50 less than the Rava right now, so I'm pretty confident that the Rava is what we are going with.
Yeah, and if you want some more advice too on the Rava, Brandon, I know our friend Nick, they have that. So you can always talk to them about what it is. Another choice for us that I've seriously considered is the Graco for Life. That is one that has been around for a long time, has lots of good reviews, and is a decent amount cheaper. And like I said, very, very highly rated as well. So we're probably a little bit further away from making our decision. Maybe something will come out in between now and then, or a bigger sale, kind of make our decisions. But what's important to keep in mind is when you're looking at convertible car seats and stuff is kind of decide what you want to do and then add all the costs together. So if you only want a convertible car seat, you're not going to do an infant car seat. There's different decisions you're going to have to make about that. If you know you're going to do an infant car seat and a convertible car seat, then again, are you going to have to buy a booster car seat? What's the price of all 3 that you want? And then, how long is your kid going to fit in these? Also, look at your genetics. Is your kid most likely going to be a bigger kid because you and your spouse are taller people, bigger people? Or like myself and my wife, our child probably isn't going to be super tall. Neither one of us is very tall. So I know that's, like I said, an issue with the exec because sometimes the height. But, honestly, if Peyton's super tall, that's a win. I won't be mad about it because she didn't get it from me and she didn't get it from my wife. So, those are things you want to consider when you're looking at it. There's lots of research out there. And I didn't know the thing about the middle seat being the safest. So I'm glad you said that, Brandon. One thing that I have kind of that's annoying is I often drive different vehicles for my job. So I'm constantly in new cars, but I usually put them behind the passenger seat. So I'll keep that in mind now that you kind of said that.
And that's if you have the option. A lot of vehicles have captain's chairs in that second row. So like in Kelsey's car, that's exactly where he is behind the passenger seat. And part of the reason for that as well is being able to reach your child and console them. It's ease of use. If you got them right behind like the driver's seat. I remember when I took my driving test or was in driver's training, they actually told me then, shout out to Sears and their driving school, that behind the driver's seat was the safest to sit, for a variety of reasons. But the main thing is most drivers, a T-bone is one of the least likely types of accidents, just according to their research. But that's getting a little bit beside the point. And all the research I've done, it kind of goes middle seat, then behind the passenger seat, and then the driver's seat, which shocked me because my entire life I thought behind the driver was the safest seat.
Interesting. So, that kind of wraps up, I think, a little bit about convertible car seats. We might touch on more of this as we have future episodes because I'm sure we'll probably purchase some. But, Brandon, what else are you kind of looking forward to buying or kind of done research about buying here in the near future for your family and for Bryce?
So, we had a high chair on our registry in real world use. And part of the reason we looked at this high chair was one of the most popular types of high chairs was one from IKEA. Is like a $35 high chair, but the space that it takes up, its footprint is so incredibly like huge in my opinion and awkward that it didn't make sense for our like kitchen and dining room setup. I'd be tripping over that high chair at all times. So the one we went with it because it had a lower profile, but Bryce, like I said earlier, is a thick boy, and his it seems like we're almost squeezing him into it to a degree as we use that. So we know that that's not going to last very long at all. So number one on our list is the Stokey Trip Trap high chair, and it is a little more expensive than I probably wanted to spend when we originally were looking at like long term like high chair options. But it's probably the one we're about to go with. And part of the reason is it is adjustable from newborn. And then that actually becomes like the child's regular seat. You can push it right up to the table like most other seats. And it grows with your child. So he basically can have the same chair all the way through beginning of elementary school, really. So that is something that has jumped out at us. It also has a flat surface. Studies have shown that if a child's feet are able to be flat when they're eating, that just creates a less fussy experience for parent and child. So both of those are reasons that the Stokey Trip Trap are high on our list. The other one we're considering is the Maxi Cozy 6-in-1. Pretty similar from a functionality standpoint. It grows with your child. The difference is, one, look-wise, the Stokey could legitimately just pull right up to the table. A lot of people wouldn't realize that it's a child seat once you get to like the final iteration of it. The Maxi Cozy definitely looks like a high chair.
Okay. Yeah, we actually had a high chair on our registry and we had it bought for us. It was the Graco Slim Snacker high chair. It's super lightweight.
Slim Snacker. I love that
Slim
name.
Snacker. It's small, but honestly, the main reason that we originally put on the list, Brandon, is on Amazon is 19,000 reviews. It's a 4.8. Pretty much everyone that has it says it's great. It's very affordable. Like I said,
and apparently everyone has it.
Yeah, exactly.
19,000 reviews.
19,000 reviews. It does have a place for the baby's feet, so they're flat. Like you said, it has a storage thing underneath, and it reclines into 3 different positions, and it folds up to be very, very small, so you can store it away out of basically where people can see. If you didn't want it by your kitchen table because it looks, doesn't go with the aesthetic or whatnot. So that is the one that we have. We have not used it yet, obviously, but very, very popular one. And again, pretty affordable. We also have a mat that goes underneath it that we got. So that's the one that we went with. And I think based on public opinion, I feel pretty good about that one.
I think you should. You brought up mats, and we were watching Shark Tank a couple of years. This was before we even had Bryce. And someone had like a baby mat that you put on top of the high chair, and it has like suction it has the ability to like suction pretty much everything, utensils, things like that. Because one thing and I'm starting to figure this out. We haven't figured out with food yet, but the babies will grab something and then they turn into little Cy Youngs and they start throwing it all around wherever they can. So that alleviates their ability to do that. The name is escaping me, but I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. Brandon, another thing that kind of both of us are going to have to start thinking about, is you more than me, but as the babies start to crawl around and move around, is child-proofing your house. And one thing that's very apparent usually when you look up child-proofing, and especially wives can care about this, but husbands too, is child-proofing can be just ugly. I mean, like bulky, ugly.
Without question.
Yeah, it's just like some of the stuff you're like, this is the best design you have. Like, it looks like it's from, 1940, these designs. But I'm here to tell you that through my research, I found some things that are pretty dang cool and a lot less ugly. And that is magnetic baby locks. Essentially what happens is behind cupboards and things that you want to keep locked, there's these mechanisms you put on the other side that keep the cabinet locked or the drawer locked, and then there is like a magnetic key that looks like almost like a doorknob or a little handle, and then you push it up to it when you want to open it, and then it releases the drawer or the cabinet, and then you can open them. And then usually these will come with a few different locks in case you lose one, and it allows you to basically put those in a safe place the baby can't get to, and then the baby can't get into your stuff, and it doesn't look ugly and gaudy. So, and they get good reviews, and they're pretty popular. There's a lot of different brands that make them, but magnetic baby locks, Brandon, have you done any research on those?
Yes, that's very high on our list. And only thing I second everything you just said. We're going to have magnetic baby locks. The random cool thing is this house. We bought the house from someone who had 4 kids, all of which were under the age of like 6. So the house had some built-in baby proofing already. I need to go through and kind of redo a few different things. The magnetic locks are something, especially you spend so much time, but also a lot of people spend a ton of money on their kitchen and how the kitchen looks. And then you start throwing like the traditional locks in there, and you lose or are adding an eyesore to.
You might as well put a padlock.
Spent a lot of money on.
You might as well put like a big giant padlock.
Crazy. So all I'd say is don't lock the keys in the drawer.
Yes.
Separate them.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something that's high on the list for us. The one thing that we have started is installing a baby gate. I got to finish doing that today. It's a permanent child gate. It's a retractable gate.
Yep.
So when it is open, you really don't lose any ability to get through the area you're trying to get through. Traditional baby gates kind of have you're gonna narrow the space even if the gate is open. So we definitely didn't want to do that. And I mean, we have to put baby gates on the top of the stairs, the bottom of the stairs, a few different places. But that's another thing that's at the very top of the list that we've already begun the process of doing.
Yeah, we have one of those bought for us too that we're going to use because they are a lot nicer looking and also just easier because sometimes baby gates, you do the top but the bottom's not done and then you're running into it.
Yeah.
And then if you have dogs like we do, that can be obnoxious. So that's important.
Stubbing your toe on one of those metal baby gates, yeah, I'm out. I stub my toe on everything. I'm not trying to add things to stub my toe on.
Yep. And a couple of things that, we haven't mentioned is doorknobs. You're still going to have probably one of those things where the baby can't grab it if the doorknob's low. And then also like toilets.
I low-key can't wait for him to be able to do that though.
Yeah. So those are a couple things with baby proofing. What else are you guys looking at maybe buying, Brandon? Anything else on the list that you think you might buy soon?
I got a couple other quick things on the baby proofing side, and then I still want to hear about the playpen for you because there's a couple things I left out. But plug covers are super important. You don't want your baby or toddler exploring the electrical outside. That might be the most important thing, truthfully, on the list. If you have like decor or books like low to the ground, it's less about like a danger, but You might want to rethink things that are low to the ground and potentially put them on like a second shelf, so they just don't end up on the floor or damaged. Throw blankets and quilts, if you have that like sitting on the couch and you're leaving the toddler semi unattended, that potentially is a suffocation risk. And same with like dangling window cords, things like that as well. But those are my quick hits on baby proofing. We probably can do a full episode on baby proofing.
Yeah, we might, because neither one of us has done it. So as we go through it and kind of give you tips and tricks of what works and doesn't work, that's probably going to be a future episode. Brandon, you mentioned the playpen. One that I kind of found, and I have a few on my list, but one, Graco makes one that's a activity center is what they call it. But what's nice about it is it's one of those foldable ones, so it's super easy to put up, put away. It's not plastic. It's almost like that. I don't know what you call it, like vinyl type material. Yeah. And then it's got cushions on the top. It's got a couple cool different little zip up areas to get in and out, almost like a tent, which is kind of nice. And then you can put like a ball pit inside of it. You can put like little stacking blocks inside of it if you wanted to, like those little floor blocks that people get. And like I said, what's nice about it is it's 60 inches, so it's pretty big. And it also it folds up very easily. So, and Graco is obviously, synonymous with baby gear. So we haven't decided on one. They have ones that are like tent-like. They have ones, like I said, that are plastic-like. They have ones that are big, small. So you really can do whatever you want. But these are important. Not everyone needs these depending on the outlay of your house. But if you have multiple floors in your house, or you have ways for the baby, especially when they start crawling, to get kind of into different rooms and places you don't want them, they're not a bad idea to have necessarily. So I think, and also for grandma and grandpa's house too, truthfully.
Yes. And the one thing that's really key for me, just in like real world use, is the ability to, a lot of them will have, and the EIH one that I mentioned has this, where you can like access it from ground level, from like a parental perspective. So your kid's in there playing, I don't have to reach into it. I can just unzip like one of the sides and kind of either get in there with the kid, or at least have like the top half of my body in there while I'm playing with Bryce or whatnot.
Yeah, no, so that's something, like I said, that's definitely on the list. And that's really probably when she starts to crawl that we'll look into doing that. Also, like we mentioned in the past, Brandon, something on my list as well is those magnetic blocks that you can kind of form into, seats and forts and all that good stuff too.
Yeah, Kelsey got super excited last episode because I mentioned the Nugget couch, and I had done some research on that. But she's already found a duplicate kind of knockoff Costco version of it that apparently is we're going to be getting. So
there you go.
I'm fine with it. I feel like we still got a little bit of time.
Yeah, you have to let us know how that goes, because that'll be something I'm sure that we'll do here in the future as well.
Peyton just might have to come over and play on it.
She might. Yep, she definitely might. And the big thing for us that's kind of tough, just to let the folks at home kind of know, is we might be moving decently soon. So we're trying not to buy too much, as we want to see the outlay of our new house if we do indeed move here in the near future. So that's another reason we're kind of holding back on purchasing some stuff.
So I know I love to call you out, but it's the second time. I thought it was a slip at first, but are you trying to say layout or outlay when you say that?
What's layout or outlay? I think it's the same thing. It's synonymous, right?
I've never heard anybody say outlay in my life, so we're gonna have to look this up off air.
I like it,
but I'm also excited when you do get to the point where you're getting ready to move, for our listeners to kind of get an idea of why. It's an exciting reason.
It will be if that all goes down. But Brandon, I think that's a pretty good place to kind of stop the meat and potatoes, as I called it, of the episode. So now's your chance to beat my 2 jokes with your 1 dad joke for the day.
Jerry, I'm not going to waste any time. Why do mermaids wear seashells?
I don't know.
Because they outgrew their bee shells.
I like it. That's pretty good. That's funny. Okay, I got you. You need a little bit different tempo.
Under the sea.
Ooh, there you go.
Under the sea.
I was thinking of, because we do top 10 episodes every 10th episode, and I was thinking top 10 Disney songs might be what we do.
Oh.
That actually was one I was going to mention.
I might have to actually sing.
Yeah, and Brandon singing's one thing. Me trying to sing might be another. I already did the.
You already started doing it.
I already
today.
did. Yeah, the freaking "You Could Be." Oh,
It was crazy. In my head, I
can.
You're gonna get me started, but I really feel like I can't like match her tone, and I'm gonna try to as it come.
It is funny when you're there listening to him because I'm thinking in my head like, who has this job? Like you're the kid kid toy baby singer, and she's definitely singing in a certain tone on purpose. But it's catchy. It's stuck in my head. So job well done for the piano
because
mat.
it plays all day long.
Oh,
the piano mat is great.
It does. So yeah, Brandon, I'm excited. Like I said, this is our last week of maternity leave, so we got some big things coming up in the near future, and
I'm praying for you, Macy.
Exactly. And then you guys, Bryce is starting to feed himself and grow into 6 to 9 clothings. We're getting to some exciting stages. So everyone that's listening to us, we appreciate you guys. Our viewership or listenership, whatever you want to call it, has grown week over week. Continue to tell your friends about us. Continue to give us feedback. But until next time, I'm Jerry here with Brandon, and you've been listening to Dad Jokes.